Hi everyone, it's Jessica. So I am super excited about this particular layout because it is the last one that I have to complete my 2019 scrapbooks. I think I end up with a total of 6 albums total for the year 2019, and this is it. This is my last one. And actually, my last thing here is a video. So you can see here is my list of all the layouts I had to do for my pictures from 2019, and I'm at the final entry there. So excited to check that one off my list. But here I have pulled a couple of things. I've got some paper from, I want to say, my February Hip Kit subscription. And I've got a bunch of scraps that I'm going to work with. I had to pull a couple of full sheets. But what made me think of this particular February kit was it had a bunch of chipboard die cuts that were like old-fashioned TVs, and so I really wanted to use those for my video. I also have a bunch of hexagon dies here that also poke a bunch of stitching holes, and I thought it would be really fun to create just a colorful background with hexagons and just build it across that cute ledger piece of pattern paper. So I'm just kind of looking at my die cuts here before I cut into any of my paper and just making sure that this is going to work with my photo. Now, the interesting thing is that I didn't even originally have a photo for this particular event. The only thing I had was a video living on my phone. So what I did is I took a screenshot of the video and then I printed it as a picture instead. I had to crop it down a little bit to get rid of some of the little camera marks that showed on the screen. But I turned it into a picture, and then I wanted to use the video itself, of course, because it was so cute. It was of my daughters playing an old Mario Brothers game, and just my one daughter's voice in it is like so sweet and cute. And I just wanted to remember that forever and not have that video live on my phone. So I have gone ahead and cut a bunch of hexagons with the various cardstock and pattern paper that I pulled out of that February kit. And I don't have anything glued down yet, but I just kind of wanted to, like I said, get a sense here to make sure I know what I'm doing and that I know where I'm going to put my photo here. And then I also want to figure out which of the old TVs I want to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my video from my phone and I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel. It's going to be in an unlisted link, so it will be private. Someone would have to have the link in order to view it. But if you have a bunch of videos on your phone like I do and you don't want them kind of lost to time, this has just been a really great option of something that I've been doing lately to my scrapbook pages, and I really love it. So if you have the YouTube app on your phone and the video lives on your phone, you can just very easily upload it to your channel. It doesn't, again, have to be anything that is public, but it's just the way that I work it. So I upload it, and then what I do is I grab the link for that private unlisted video and I go to a free QR code creating website. The one that I use is called bit.ly, bitly.com. And I can create a QR code that when somebody scans that code, it will take them to that private video. And then that's how I can include the videos on my layouts. So I'm going to put the QR code inside the TV. I thought that would be a fun way of kind of showing whoever's looking at the scrapbook that this is something that you want to watch. So what I did here is I took a couple of those hexagons and I went ahead and just glued them flat to the page. I know that I am going to stitch them. There are holes already around the perimeter of them, and so some of them I wanted to go ahead and get stitched flat to the page. So I'm going to use my little mat here and my piercing tool and go ahead and get those sewing holes poked through. And then the ones that I'm going to layer over top of these base hexagons, I was planning to stitch and then pop up with a little bit of foam tape. I wasn't really thinking, and some of those smaller ones I had wanted to put down flat to the page, but I was just carried away in my stitching, so I'll end up putting those ones on with foam tape too. Here is where I'm showing you how I'm going to mat my photo. I actually had this little scrap scallop frame sitting in my scrap bin. It's been sitting there for the longest time, and I was like, oh, I think that would actually make a really pretty frame for my photo, but it's a little bit too long. And so I just kind of cut it and I jimmy rigged it and glued it back together to make it the perfect size. And I don't think that that cut line is very noticeable by the time I put my photo over the top, but I just did really like that little scallop white detail to help this photo stand up off of those hexagons. So just kind of figuring out my placement here again, thinking it'll go like this. And then here's where I'm going to start layering a couple of the hexagons over the top. These are those smaller ones that I had meant to stitch flat to the page once I figured out where those foam ones were going to go, but I had already gone ahead and stitched them. So they're going to go down with some foam tape too. And as I'm kind of moving things around, I'm looking at my visual triangle as far as colors go. So I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to place things. And then I remembered I was working with that green one there and trying to find another point for my green. And then I was like, oh, wait, don't forget about the TV, Jess, because the TV is green. And I'm going to end up putting that little chipboard TV over to the right of my photo. So that green there can end up being another point of green. So once I did that, then I moved that green hexagon just to make the third point of the triangle. And yeah, and then I got a couple of tiny little ones as well that I'm going to kind of sprinkle around like confetti. Now in this particular kit, I did have some really pretty vellum letters. I've been using these a lot lately. In fact, I think I've done 2 videos recently that feature similar vellum letters or these same ones. And in both of those videos, I put them down in my favorite way, which was to stitch them down. But because I had all that other stitching done for my hexagons, I thought that that might detract from it a little bit. So I'm actually not going to stitch these letters down for the title, but I'm going to use them to spell out the word play. And then I've got that little sentiment strip that I'm going to put over that banner. And it says, definitely do this more, or something to that effect. And I thought that that was a good little title for the girls. They just were being such good friends in this video. It's so cute to listen to my younger daughter trying to give my older daughter some tips on how to play the Mario Brothers game and what you can do, and picking up the turtle and things like that. It was just really adorable. So they don't really act like that so much anymore now that they're older. So it's a really sweet memory. I love having captured it on video. I'm going ahead and putting down the rest of those those hexagons with the foam squares. And then I'm also adding a little bit of liquid glue to the thread just to help hold it onto the page. Now, normally I do, like I said, I put my vellum pieces down with stitching just because you can see through vellum. So I was like, but I don't want to do that. So I did just put a little smidge of adhesive behind them. And I think because they're colored, it doesn't show through as much as it does in like plain clear vellum. So got to let me know when you see them in the close-ups at the end if they look okay, but I was like, yeah, that'd be too much stitching, I think. It'd detract maybe from those hexagons. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer the rest of the title there. And then I also have that other little half circle die cut there that says on the agenda. And I thought that was cute. Just, this is what they're going to do. They're going to be playing. This picture is from right after Christmas when they had gotten that old-fashioned, old school Nintendo game to play with. And so that, like I said, just kind of rounding out the end of my 2019 albums. So I'm really excited to be checking that off of the list and moving on. So I'm kind of curious to know how everybody else scrapbooks. Do you do it chronologically? Do you kind of jump around a little bit? As far as, making videos and things, I do find myself jumping around a little bit, but otherwise I just kind of plug along with my pictures chronologically. But I do have a lot of pages. So now that I've got this one done, I'm going to have to go back and count. I think all of the year 2019 ends up fitting into like 5 or 6 scrapbook albums. So, it's a lot. I am impressed that people who can do like a whole year in one album, I just don't think I could ever do that because I do every picture. I can't leave any picture behind. But I went through and I was looking at a couple of those puffy stickers to see if I could add anything else. But honestly, I think there's just already enough visual interest with the hexagons and the stitching and all the bright colors that I don't really end up adding any other embellishments, and that's going to be it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions about adding videos to your layouts, let me know in the comments down below, and I will be happy to do what I can to help you. But that really has been a favorite of mine since I figured out how to do that. All right, thanks for being here with me today. I hope you guys are having a good one. Happy crafting. Bye.